There we go. The finishing touches on Chapter 10. Hey, it's Matt. I'm back in the office from a little sabbatical in Las Vegas to recharge myself. And I want to talk about Chapter 10. And it's on Facebook Messenger. But first, I want to talk about the biggest problem in marketing that everybody watching this, has. You're spending your advertising dollars right now to get a customer tomorrow or next week. And let me ask you a simple question. Would you rather spend $1 to get a few customers next week or spend $1 to get many customers next year? And what I'm talking about is building a database, specifically in this case, Facebook Messenger. So this is Chapter 10 of my new book, Put Butts in Your Seats. And it's 8 tactics to help you, a business owner, specifically restaurant in some cases, but really honestly, any business owner, any entrepreneur. It's 8 tactics to help you create an engaged audience and database that will spend money with you for years to come, not just next week. So Facebook Messenger is what we're talking about. And Facebook Messenger is what email marketing was 20 years ago. It's a way for you to gather people into a system and send them broadcasts. In email, you sent newsletters. In Messenger, you send broadcasts. But I want to show you one key example here, and then I'm going to dig into kind of the concept of this. So flip this around. This is a client of ours broadcast last week for March Madness. Now, if you look at this, they've got a database of a few thousand people in Messenger. And if you look at this line right here, you'll see Louisville. March Madness Louisville. It went to 36 people. It got opened 88%. Now, there was no call to action, so this 0 over here, there's not going to be any clicks. We didn't have that. It was basically promoting the March Madness specials. But here's what we did differently than what we would have done with email. Is this message went to 36 people, of which 31 of them opened it and read it. It went to Louisville fans, people who had told us they liked Louisville basketball. Louisville was in the tournament. They got bounced pretty early, but different story. We were able to send a message to Louisville. And you see 476, 91% UK. 55 UC, also got bounced early. 361 NKU, first round loss, but great effort. And then 106 were people that we didn't have a team for or didn't have a specific broadcast for, but promoted March Madness. So if you look at that, we didn't just blast March Madness out to everybody. We didn't say, hey, it's March Madness. Come to the restaurant and get this. We said, hey, UK fans, your Wildcats are playing today at 7 p.m. Come by for our amazing March Madness specials and cheer on your Cats, go Big Blue. We had special broadcasts for each team. Now, that right there is going to drive a little sales right now. It's going to drive even more sales in a year when those numbers are much bigger. But I want you to think about it, because somebody asked me the other day, we had a broadcast real similar to this that made money for the client, like $2,500. They said, Matt, how much did that cost? I said 0, because the money was spent to acquire, not to nurture. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me open this up. Real quick, I want to get your feedback. What do you think of that book cover? So we're going to get rid of this through building the database, but put butts in your seats. 8 proven tactics to grow your, and it's going to say restaurant sales. It's actually going to be 2 covers, your restaurant sales and your sales. And we're going to have one that's got that's for restaurants specifically, then one that's the book cover is more geared to everybody. But I want to know your thoughts. One thing I'm working on is where this is light back here, because it's meant to have a spotlight on it, having kind of a scene of a busy restaurant in the back. But just want to get your feedback on that. But let me go back to what I really want to talk about here. And that is this. So let's imagine that you do what most businesses do, and you spend money on, let's just call it mass media. And so you spend money on mass media. Well, that's not a very good effort of drawing, is it? Let me erase that, because I want to show you this, because this is important. This is where a lot of businesses are really messing up, really missing the boat. So we got 2 paths here. And so let's just say what traditional media, this is what you're usually buying, most companies. And let's say you spend $2,000 to push out a promotion. Let's say that promotion does really well. Let's say it sells 10 grand. Because, I mean, let's face it, all advertising works. So now, next month, you want to do that again. Oh, okay, we were happy with that 5-to-1 ROI, plus we got some branding, we got some exposure. And that's what traditionally happens. A lot of businesses will say, hey, this radio is going to give us some branding. It's going to give us some exposure. And then it's going to drive some sales. And let's say you can somehow attribute 10 grand, which you probably can't, most of it, but let's say you do. Let's say it's a direct mail piece and you can. So next month, what do you have to do in order to get that 10 grand again? Well, you got to pay the piper, because all you did as a business was spend money to make sales tomorrow. And when you do that, it's a vicious cycle. Now you're back up to here. Then you go right back down it. Then you're back up to here. Now I want you to imagine you spend that $2,000 to acquire. I'm spelling acquire right there. I don't know. Not a math guy, not a grammar guy. So we got $2,000 spent to acquire a database. And so that $2,000 acquires you 2,500 subscribers. But at the same time, those 2,500 subscribers, like what we would typically see, like in what we do for businesses, that would generate, let's just use that restaurant we just did. They get 20% of those people come in within 45 days. So let's just say within a month, 20% of that would be what, 400 or 500? So 500 people, they come in and spend, let's just say it's $20. So now you got the same 10 grand in sales, right? We all agree on that. The difference is when you want to drive those sales again, you don't have to go up here. You now go here. And that's where you create a broadcast to your data, to an audience. And what you might do here is say, you know what? Within this 2,500 people, let's just do these numbers. 500 of them have redeemed, 2,000 haven't. So within this broadcast, I've got 500 people. And then I've also got 2,000. So you might ask a couple questions of why these people haven't activated yet. So you can send out a broadcast with a couple of choices. And maybe you have a dessert, a lunch, a kids eat free. And so now you're able to get these people into a different conversation based on something that probably relates to what they do. But let's say on the other end, you've got these 500 that you know redeemed. Well, you can do a couple things. One, you can just send out a message that's their next offer. You can send out a more of a branding. Or you could break this out and say, hey, these people spent $10, these people spent $20, these people spent $30, and send them different messages. The whole reason I'm showing you this is that if you remember, you spent $2 grand here, that's probably low. Let's say 2, 4, 5 grand. You get 10 grand in sales. Next month you want to do it again, you got to pay the piper. You spend that $2 grand to acquire customer data, a database in Messenger, texting, email even. Whatever you do, acquire data. And that all of a sudden drives to 500 people walking in your restaurant. It leads to 2,500 people in a database, of which 500 spend something, 2,000 you didn't. And you want to say, you know what? I want to talk to these people again. I don't have to spend this money. I've already done it. Now I'm up here talking to the people that I've built in a database. So that's the concept of my entire book. But more importantly, I showed you in Messenger how we're seeing 80 to 90% open rates because we're talking to people specifically about what they want to know. In that case, UK, Louisville, NKU, UC basketball. We had also in there Notre Dame, IU, and Xavier, but guess what? They made the NIT. Not a huge audience for going to the NIT with regards to restaurants. So, and if you play that in a lot of restaurants when you have limited TVs, you might have some angry customers. That's what we're talking about. That's what Chapter 10 is. Chapter 10 of Put Butts in Your Seats is all about Facebook Messenger. And I want you to think about this. Every time you spend $1, stop thinking about spending $1 to drive sales. Think about spending $1 to grow a database, because that database can keep on giving next week, the week after that, the week after that, the week after that. That's all I got. I'll see you around.